fundamental to developing a growth strategy is actually to look at the negative. So understanding risk, mitigating risk, planning for risk, developing risk scenarios, looking at worst case, looking at what would happen if we lost a key employee, key customer, key supplier, looking at succession plans, what would happen if someone had to go away on maternity leave or got ill. These are the things that severely disrupt growth traction, and you need to have plans in place simply to manage them. So very fundamental to what you do in driving a growth agenda is always to look at the what-ifs. So questions. How dependent are you on a single customer, a single supplier, a single person, a single channel? Where are the risks? What are the risks in the delay of supply, of the delay of manufacturing, of delay in shipment? Where are the technology risks of things not performing to spec? You know the old story about quality always pays. If we catch problems early, they're cheaper to fix than if we catch problems later. If you need to talk to somebody, go talk to Toyota at the moment. I'm sure they'll have lots of interesting comments to tell you about, wouldn't it be nice if we caught these problems in the factory rather than in the field? How sensitive is the business to any of these disruptions? And how well can you recover from any one of these risks? I often run exercises for students where I ask them in their business plan to forecast the results at a 5, a 10, a 20 or a 50% decline in revenue. What does my business look like? And what are my strategies for coping with that? One of the fundamental strategies is what I call recurring revenue. What is the level of revenue that I'm getting from existing customers, either through repeat business or through new business or servicing through service contracts? And where are my recurring expenses? And I need to look at the relationship between recurring expenses and recurring revenue, because this is a fundamental aspect of resilience in business. Here's some actions. You can improve the predictability of your revenue through a lot of those sustainable actions I talked about. Agreements, preferred supplier agreements, loyalty schemes, book capacity, service agreements, dedicated products. All of these things improve the predictability of your business, and in doing so, improve referral sales, improve recurring sales, improve multiple usage within similar accounts, and all of this lifts recurring revenue. And when you do that, you improve resilience. People do not understand the difference between cash and profitability. Businesses go out of business not because they're not profitable, but because they run out of cash. I have these wonderful exercises where I take sales and purchasing credit cycles and I change the characteristics of each one and allow them to run together. So depending on when the cash turns up, the profitability is always the same. But I move the credit terms on both sides and I look at what happens to cash flow. And it's just absolutely remarkable how people get confused with when does revenue occur and when does the cash turn up. So if I sell on credit, the cash turns up later. I'm making lots of sales, I'm recognising sales, I'm recognising profit, but I've got no cash. Okay? I run a cash before I buy business, I end up with lots of cash, not so much revenue because revenue's delayed, but I've got cash in the bank. So this exercise of understanding your cash flow is fundamental to survival. I used to run what was called a worst case cash scenario in my business every week. We would forecast out to about 9 months, and we'd forecast on the basis of no new sales. How long can we last before we run out of cash or we have to borrow money? Well, there's a lot in the business that's in the pipeline. All the accounts receivable is still to be collected. That's not a new sale. Then we go to work in progress, which is already contracted. That's not a new sale. We go to all of our recurring expenses, and then we see where we are. Cash in bank plus. And then we start to filter down. So what are our close near-term prospects? High probability. Next level of probability, next level of probability, next level of probability. And I can start to layer in cash inflows. What are my discretionary expenses? And I can start to lay in cash outflows. But understanding this, I've got this tremendous resilience report that allows me to take quick action when I can see patterns changing over time. Probably saved my bacon 4 or 5 times over a 20-year period. Make sure you cross-train employees. Someone leaves, who's going to pick up the slack? I need to go to a 2-week overseas trip, who's going to do my job? I've got someone going off on maternity leave, who's going to pick up that? I've got a key employee leaves, hasn't documented all the things they're doing. Okay, so look at the risks associated with that. I always believed in a highly educated workforce. And a lot of people used to criticise me by saying, you know, you cross-train and you educate, aren't you just allowing these people to go out and get a job somewhere else? And what I found was the opposite was true. By allowing people to enhance their skills and their knowledge, and by giving them challenging and interesting work, and by making them highly employable, they didn't need to go and find another job. Because they always knew that if anything went wrong, they could always find another job. So where was the risk? So if I create a good employment environment, which is interesting and challenging and enjoyable, with some fun things to do, but they're learning on the job, then why not stay here, you know, with a comparable, you know, hopefully a comparable market salary? Why would I then go off and have to go through the whole switching cost problem, remember switching cost? Whole switching cost problem of finding another job, settling in, getting new friends, when in fact, actually I know I can leave here any time. So, you know, always interesting to think about what is my work environment and how am I using that to mitigate risks.